Welcome to another empowering episode of Healthy Her, where we celebrate motherhood reimagined. Today, we'll look into the essence of a healthy life as a mother, featuring insightful discussions with experts and professionals who are redefining what motherhood can mean and how it can be better experienced. Get ready to be inspired by stories and advice that will transform your journey as a mom. First, we have Unnati Patel, a dynamic mom from McDonough, Georgia, who turned her research skills into a lifeline for sleep-deprived parents worldwide. With a background in public health and clinical research, she founded Nested to Rested Sleep Consulting, helping families from Atlanta to Africa achieve restful nights and thriving days. Unnati's mission is clear: to be the virtual village she never had, offering unwavering support and gentle sleep strategies to moms everywhere. Also on the show, Jamie Lackey, a powerhouse social worker who transformed her garage into a beacon of hope for families in need. As the founder of Helping Mamas, Jamie has dedicated her career to collecting and donating essential baby supplies and period products to women and children across Georgia. Her unwavering commitment has led to the distribution of over 8 million items, proving that one person's vision can uplift an entire community. Last but not least, Damaris Johnson, a licensed marriage and family therapist who brings a wealth of personal and professional experience to the table. As a clinical director at the Walk of Life Counseling Center, she supports couples and new mothers through their most transformative moments. Damaris's expertise extends beyond therapy to trauma-informed and DEI trainings, making her a guiding light for healing and inclusivity in diverse settings. Let me start by asking, what are some common stereotypes about motherhood that may be challenging to either moms or maybe even to you as professionals? So I'll start with you, Damaris.
Stereotypes, that's a good question. Man, where can I begin? There are so many stereotypes. I think one of the hardest stereotypes that I hear oftentimes are that moms cannot do it all. And to that, my response often is like, you may not be able to do it all at once, but you can do it all in due time. And I try to encourage moms at different seasons to just be open to the idea that you may not be able to do it at this moment, but be encouraged that there's a different season for everything.
Right.
So while, for example, even my own career, there was a time where I just knew that my career was gonna look one way, right? And a baby came along and I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, this is not what I thought being a mom was gonna look like. And I thought, what am I gonna do? I called my mentor and he was like, listen, and it was actually my older professor. He's a male professor. And he's like, there's not actually—
Men have thoughts.
They have thoughts. And he told me about his experience with his wife and their kids. He's like, there's actually not a perfect time to have a child.
Right.
He's like, your career will be there. He's like, there will be a time for everything. And it kind of gave me permission to remember, like, hey, you can have a career, you just may not be able to do all today.
Right.
So the stereotype that you can't be a good mom and be a great professional is a hard one, but it's not actually true.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is don't be overwhelmed by feeling you have to have it all done now. Pace yourself and give yourself some grace.
Yes.
To even make some mistakes.
Yes.
Jamie, what would you think, from your perspective?
Yeah. I think there's a lot out there that says there's a right way to be a mom. There's a right way to do this. And, there's those that say, moms stay home, or, it's not okay to work. And there is no right or wrong way to parent your child, right? Like we get caught up in that right and wrong, and it's what's best for you. What's best for your family? How do we balance what's best for everyone? I always say it takes all types of moms to make this world go round and to make our village, kind of rise up. I was so thankful. I was a working mom, and I was so thankful to my friends who were, stay-at-home moms, because they were making our communities run. They were making our schools run, and there's so much grace and power in that. And then I loved the work that I got to do to help other moms and be involved in, in their lives. And so it takes all types of moms to make motherhood a full, beautiful picture. So there's no right or wrong way, and we have to get over that stereotype that there's the right way to do it.
Right. There's not the perfect mom.
Yeah.
There are just different kinds of moms.
Yes.
Unithi,
Yeah.
what would you think about it?
Yeah, to piggyback what Jamie said and what you just mentioned, a perfect mom, there is no such thing as a perfect mom, even though we aim and strive for that perfection in motherhood. And I feel like that perfection that we strive for really causes a lot of the stress and anxiety that comes with motherhood as well. So my whole mantra is, don't try to be the perfect mom, just be the mom that your child needs in that moment and in that season of motherhood, because your child may need a different mom when they're teenagers compared to infants, and you just change as the seasons of motherhood changes, and forget about being a perfect mom.
Yeah, you know, what inspired you to transition actually from a public health expert to a sleep consultant for moms? How did that journey occur?
Yeah, it was a long journey. I initially left the world of research at the CDC to become a mom, stay-at-home mom, and I did that for about 3.5 years until I had my second. And then COVID hit, and I was at home like everyone else. And I just needed another outlet. I needed another space to connect and talk to other adults. And so I knew I wanted to serve mothers, serve families, and I had a true passion for that. And I did sleep consulting with friends. I sleep trained my own kids. And one of my friends just brought up, like, why don't you do this and help other families? I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't I? And so that's when I got certified and started my business in the middle of COVID.
You know, talking about self-care, sleep is self-care, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
How Damaris, I would ask you, you know, how do you think self-care has evolved into kind of motherhood?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is. It evolves, right? Self-care for an individual before they become a mom can look very different.
Right.
When you have children, your idea of self-care will evolve, right?
I like the way you put that.
You know, your idea of what a full night's rest, for example, before kids will look one way. When you have kids, your idea of full night's rest can look very different as well. But generally, when I think about self-care for a mom, what I typically will encourage them to think about is what helps fill your tank.
Right.
You know, we can't apply the same idea of self-care to every mom.
Right.
So when you think for each individual person, for one mom, it could look like, hey, going to go for a walk. That may fill your tank up. The fresh air, seeing your neighbors on your walk, getting to be alone with nature may fill your tank. For another mom, that might feel like a chore. Going to exercise may feel like a chore. For them, it may be filling their self-tank, you know, gas tank up may look like having 30 minutes themselves to read a book that they were just really wanting to finish up.
Right.
And so really being open to the idea of like, okay, whatever it is though, it cannot be something that's for the family.
Right.
Because often moms, I find, they end up doing something that's for the family with their spare time.
Right.
Because they'll see that their partner or their family member who's helping out, like, I'll take the kids, go do something for yourself. And the mom will say, well, okay, I'm gonna go run to the grocery store.
Right. Right.
Or I'm gonna go clean up real quick. And I'm like, that is not self-care.
Right.
I know it's a to-do list task.
Right.
But self-care has to fill your tank up. And so look at whatever that is, whatever fills you up, that is your self-care item.
Right. And I like the way you make that distinction, because oftentimes we don't. That's what we do. We get the next thing on the list done because we've got these 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you started helping mamas. What do you talk about with self-care?
Yeah, so when you start a nonprofit and you have, at the time, my kids were 4 and 8, and you start a nonprofit, there's no such thing as self-care,
Right.
and that does not exist. But I had to learn. Like I have older kids now. I have one that's going to college and one that's going into high school, and I I feel like now in my late 40s, I'm all about self-care, right? Like, and it makes me better at what I do. It makes me better at my job, and it makes me able to support my team and my staff and the women we serve so much better because I'm in better shape. I'm taking better care of myself. But you know, it's like you say, there's times when you have to redefine what that looks like for you.
Right.
It's going to look different at different stages in your life, and you know, for the moms I serve, the moms we work with, there is no such thing as self-care. When you're a low-income mom and you can't afford diapers for your children and you're working 2 and 3 jobs, this very notion of self-care is so far stretched. And so we've started doing things where we'll do a community event for them to come get diapers, but then we have fun activities for their kids to do, right? Like we're trying to take the chore out of that and the heartache out of that and help them find a little bit of peace. And what our hope is if we can give them some diapers, if we can give them other items, maybe that's a few less hours they have to work and they can take care of themselves a little bit better.
Maybe, you know, piggybacking on that, maybe you could talk to me a little bit about sort of that moment that triggered you. I don't know if you were literally standing in your garage when it happened, but that motivated you to actually start this not-for-profit, Helping Mamas.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So like I said, I'm a mom of 2, and the hardest thing I've ever done is be a mom. I had a husband, we both had a master's degree, we had family around us, we had all the support in the world. It was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Right.
And as a social worker, because I was a social worker, I saw moms reusing disposable diapers. They were using plastic grocery bags as diapers, and I thought, this is the hardest job for me, and I have all the resources in the world. How in the world are other moms doing it? And that was my aha moment. There was no coordinated effort to get baby supplies directly to our community. There was no other effort before we started to do that. And that was my aha moment. Like, if it's hard for me, how are these other moms doing it? And I'm a mom, and when you want to get something done, you call other moms, and that's how I did it. We just kind of all started with my friends, my family, out of my garage in my best friend's basement, and here we are 10 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damaris, let me ask you something, you know, that has brought to mind. You are also a mom and a therapist. How do you balance that with a lot of the DEI trainings that you're doing and the trauma trainings? How do you balance all of that and keep it in perspective?
Yeah. Well, really, the way that came about is my kids became of school age, right? And before I even had my own kids, when I was like a baby therapist,
right.
one of my first jobs was I was working doing like community counseling. And so I was going into the schools providing counseling for students who were having behavioral issues at the schools. And I saw such a huge need where students were having issues with, we said behavioral issues, but it was really mental health issues that were happening, right? And there was a huge disparity with resources and access. And so from there, I became a mom, and I saw the mom perspective, right? And then we also were having, in the private practice setting, we're having parents coming in not knowing how to help their children. So I'm kind of seeing, like, you see the puzzle pieces, one piece at a time, but then you start to see, okay, how this is coming together. And what I started to realize is, like, we need a little bit more education on how we need more trauma-informed trainings in the school settings, because the classroom, the teachers are like at the forefront of all of this, right? They're seeing so much of this, and they are really the ones who kind of have the best way of providing the resources, but their job is to teach, right? And the parents and moms are kind of feeling helpless, like, how do I help my kid? And then I became a mom, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my kids are, you know, I see this up front and personal. And so I started providing some trainings on how to be a trauma-informed educator, providing some DE&I, so how either corporate settings or classroom settings and educators could be more informed on how to provide a very diverse and just informed setting in what they're doing, right? And I see that it helps with all parties, right? With the classroom, the teachers, if they're able to understand their own mental health and how it's showing up, how trauma is showing up, how they are receiving, you know, the students, everybody benefits. And so that's kind of how it's shown up for me. I love seeing it from the mom perspective, from the therapist perspective. It like somebody said the word village, and it really does take a village perspective to to improve mental health. And
Yeah.
that's what my hope is with these trainings.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
If there was one piece of advice, Unity, that you wished you had gotten as a young mom or before you became a mom, you can pick either scenario or both. What would that have been?
Yeah, so something going back to self-care, I wish someone told me that saying no is a part of self-care as a mom,
I'm
because
still learning that.
exactly.
It is hard
It
for
is
women
so hard.
to learn that.
Yeah.
And setting those boundaries, saying no. Hey, listen, I know you want to come by and see the baby, but I'm not ready. I'm still recovering from my delivery. I am not ready to see you right now. And learning to say no was the hardest thing. I wish I did that with my first, and I tried doing that with my second.
Right.
And that's something I tell all of my clients I work with is start early,
Right.
whenever you're ready, and start practicing to say no.
Right. And you've got to start practicing before the baby, just saying no to anything.
Yeah.
Just anyone asks you, just practicing.
Yes.
I'm practicing.
Yes.
Because it's very hard. Women, we are
Yeah.
givers and we're caregivers, and we've already made the point of you get 30 minutes of self-care, we're going to do another task to keep the family, kind of moving forward.
Yeah.
What about Jamie? Any advice? Your kids are teenagers going to college. Any advice you wish?
Yeah,
you
just
had
hold
had?
on, like
Yeah.
you're gonna get through.
Right.
And every stage has its unique challenges, right? But it also has its unique blessings and joys. And so I think embracing each stage, but not feeling, I always felt like people would say, oh, this is the best time, you have to absorb it. And like so much is happening, you can't absorb it.
Right.
Really just live in the moment with every moment and hold on tight. Because once you get used to that stage, the next one's coming right behind it, and it's full of its different, challenges and joys. And just hold on tight and find the people that you can hold on to get you through it, because it's a lot. And it's okay that it's a lot. It's okay to say it's a lot.
Right, right. Unithi, I'm so pleased that you are here today. As a mother of three, one who slept, one who kind of slept, one who didn't sleep, and it was just all over the place. Very sleep deprived mother and a cardiologist. Talk to me about what these techniques are about sleep for the baby, for the family, and how you actually end up transforming a family after they work with you on their sleep.
Yeah, so sleep is really a journey. It's a journey that a family takes from day one. As soon as they bring their baby home, that baby may be sleeping great in the hospital nursery, and then they get home and the parents are woken up from the lack of sleep the baby is getting. And the hospital does not support you or provide that information or prep you for that even once you get home. And that's unfortunate for us here. But that's where I really come in. My job is to really educate, support, and empower as many families as possible with providing the tools and support that actually work for them and their baby.
Right. Give me an example of some tools. So what would be a tool, maybe a simple tool you would try to implement?
So I really try to figure out the baby's temperament, like how is the baby going to respond to certain
So you spend
soothing.
time with the baby?
Yes.
Physically?
Well, not physically, but I teach the parents how to figure it out. I work with them one-on-one, and over a few weeks, we learn what the baby's temperament is like, what soothing mechanisms are actually working and which aren't. And then once the family figures that out, they can implement those soothing strategies and continue to practice that independent sleep aspect on their own and try to reach that independent sleep and get more sleep throughout the night. And it's a journey, and it doesn't come to every baby. Every baby learns how to sleep on their own timeline, and that's also something very important that families need to understand, that just because you sleep train your baby does not mean that they're going to be sleeping perfectly every single night. Sleep is not linear.
Perfectly, right?
Yeah, exactly. So sleep is going to change for them, and as long as you have the tools that I provide to my families in their toolkit, then they're going to be set up for those changes.
I love that. Jamie, helping mamas.
Yeah.
Can you talk with me about maybe what was one of the most rewarding experiences you've had since starting it? Maybe a moment where you said, and this is why I did this?
Yeah, so many. I'm so lucky. I always say, in this field, sometimes you see the worst and you see the best, and
Right.
we see a lot of the best. And
Right.
for me, it's creating community. And what we have been able to do is create a place for people to come and give back. And serve other people. And we do a distribution event every second Saturday from our office. We'll have folks lining up 2 hours before it starts to get help. But the beauty of that is we also have, 30 or 40 volunteers there ready to serve. And the joy and the just relief that we see on these families' faces when they get the resources that they need. But then for me to be able to step back and say, this is community. This is what it looks like when you bring community together. And we're all in this for one thing, and that's so that our kids can be healthy and thriving. And that's the moment for me.
Right. Oh, that's amazing.
Thanks.
Amazing. Damaris, wife, mother, therapist, how do you bring all of that to your therapy sessions?
I try to give as much compassion and empathy. What made me decide to kind of hone in and specialize in this area
Right.
is when I became a mom myself.
Yeah.
I was already a therapist, and I was shocked at when I had my first kid and I was experiencing my own postpartum depression because I was like, I went to school.
Right.
I became a therapist. I'm like, I should know how to manage this.
Right.
And I still couldn't. And I was like, if I went to school for this and I'm struggling, this is intense.
Right.
So that kind of really was what made me push in this direction. And so in the therapy room, I really try to take a very just honest approach, provide a lot of space for moms and hold space for them to just know, like, you're not alone. You're not alone. This too shall pass.
Right.
It will get easier, and I provide tools. I help them work through, and provide some just realistic steps for how we can kind of make things a little easier and kind of hold their hand through that. And know that the second time around, it may be hard, but at least you won't be shocked. You know what's coming the second time around.
A new season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. What your expectations sometimes is everything.
Yeah.
Right? Unnati, I'm a researcher as well. So as a fellow researcher,
Yeah.
how did your background in research help you develop sleep techniques?
Yeah, so I really, with my first, before I became a sleep consultant, I really honed in. I went to PubMed, I used my husband's login to access all the articles, and I did my own research. And honestly, there wasn't too much because with the population we're dealing with, it's babies. So we were dealing with small sample sizes, and research is fairly new. So it wasn't really too generalizable. And so I kind of picked processes from the research studies that kind of made sense to me. For example, routines are really big in setting up the stage for healthy sleep in babies. So I did that first, let's do an eat, play, sleep routine throughout the day. And we made sure and did a relaxing, soothing bedtime routine. And that is really proven in the research to be beneficial. So that's where I first started, and that's really where I start with my clients as well. And similar to that, another tactic is that you want to make sure that the baby is also fed enough throughout the day, and hunger is not the cause of their sleep issues. And that's also in the research as well. So yeah, just using methods that's in the research that's available. I just pick whatever is there. It's hard to find it, that's for sure. It's still a new and hot topic.
Right, so maybe you're going to have to write and contribute to the compendium of research.
I hope so.
I'd like to know, is there something funny that maybe has happened in your journey to motherhood that we can share?
With the Helping Mamas, I think the thing that we kind of chuckle at work every day is the things that do happen to get donated. We had someone's science project get donated once. We had a lunchbox full of someone's lunch, and some kid was getting in trouble at home, you've lost your lunchbox, but actually it
So
came
sweet.
to us.
That's kind of sweet.
Yes, it really
Okay.
came to us. So yeah, that was some of the things.
Unnati, tell us where we can find you, follow you, if we want to contact you. What is that? Where is that?
Yeah, sure. So you can find me on all socials and my website at nestedtorested.sleep.com.
Okay, nestedtorested.sleep.com.
Yes.
Excellent. Jayne, where can people find you?
Yeah, so our website is Helping Mamas, that's mamas.org, or we're Helping Mamas on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Okay. Nice. Damaris?
thewalkoflife.com.
Okay.
Or Instagram as @thewalkoflife.
At the Walk of Life
Yes.
on Instagram.
Yes.
Okay, that is excellent. You can also follow me as well at Dr. Jayne Morgan, DrJayneMorgan on Instagram and all the other social media channels. Thank you today so much to our incredible guests for sharing their wisdom and experiences with us today. We've learned so much about the importance of sleep, community support, and balancing multiple roles as mothers. Remember, moms, you deserve to live your healthiest and happiest lives, and with the right support and mindset, you can thrive in every aspect of motherhood. Stay tuned for more empowering episodes of Healthy Her and keep prioritizing your well-being. You've got this.